I still remember the exact moment I realized my wife was waiting for me to die. Not because the doctor said I might not survive. Not because I was lying in a hospital bed with wires attached to my chest, staring at a ceiling I had never noticed before. No, I realized it when Vanessa squeezed my hand, leaned close to my ear, and whispered the words that changed everything. Finally, 3 more days, and it's all mine. My eyes stayed closed. My breathing stayed slow. I pretended the medication had taken me somewhere far away. But inside, something shattered, because the woman standing beside me wasn't praying for my recovery. She was counting down the days until she could take everything I had spent my entire life building. My name is Walter Bennett. I was 68 years old when I learned that sometimes the person standing closest to you can be the one waiting for your last breath. And the worst betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the person you trusted with your heart. It was 4:17 on a Tuesday afternoon at Riverside Methodist Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. The room smelled like disinfectant. The machines beside my bed made quiet beeping sounds. Outside my door, nurses walked past, carts rolled down the hallway, and someone laughed at the station. The world continued like nothing had happened. But inside that room, my entire life was changing. A few minutes earlier, Dr. Daniel Price had entered holding my medical reports. He looked serious. "Walter, we found a mass near your pancreas," he said. My stomach tightened. "There's also a severe infection. We need more tests and a biopsy before we can understand exactly what's happening." I looked at Vanessa. I expected fear. I expected tears. I expected the woman who had promised to stand beside me through everything to ask one simple question. "Is he going to be okay?" But she didn't. She looked at the doctor and asked, "Could he die?" The room went silent. Dr. Price carefully answered, "We don't know yet. His condition could become serious quickly." "How quickly?" Vanessa asked. The doctor paused. "Possibly within days." Days. That was the only word she heard. Not treatment. Not hope. Not possibilities. Days. After the doctor left, Vanessa changed instantly. For about 30 seconds, she played the role of a worried wife. And she fixed my blanket, touched my forehead, held my hand. Then she looked toward the door. She thought I was unconscious. That was when the mask came off. "Finally," she whispered. 3 more days, then it's all mine." My heart started racing. I wanted to open my eyes. I wanted to scream. But I stayed still. Then I heard another voice. My stepdaughter, Chloe. "I'm taking his car." My car. My 1972 Corvette Stingray. Dark blue paint. Cream leather seats. A rebuilt engine that sounded like a piece of American history. But that car wasn't valuable because of money. It was valuable because of memories. My first wife, Margaret, and I restored that Corvette together. 37 years of marriage. 37 years of laughter, arguments, holidays, and ordinary moments that became precious after she was gone. We spent weekends in the garage working on that car. She would complain that I cared more about the engine than the paint. I would tell her she was wrong. She always smiled when she said it. Margaret passed away 11 years before. Cancer took her slowly. After she was gone, that Corvette became more than a car. It was the last thing I had that still felt connected to her. Vanessa knew that. Chloe knew that. And they were already planning who would get it after my funeral. "She loved that car," Chloe said. Vanessa laughed quietly. "He won't need it anymore." Those words hurt more than the diagnosis. Because at that moment I understood something. They weren't preparing for my possible death. They were preparing for their reward. I was 68 years old. I built Bennett Grounds and Property Care from nothing. A used pickup truck. An old lawnmower. $6,000 I barely had. I worked every day. Rain, heat, weekends, holidays. Slowly, the business grew. My employees became family. My company became my legacy. I wasn't the richest man in Ohio, but I built something real, something I was proud of. After Margaret died, loneliness became my biggest enemy. People don't talk about that part of aging. The quiet house, the empty dinner table, The silence after everyone leaves. Then Vanessa entered my life. She was charming. She remembered little details. She made me laugh again. And when you're lonely, you don't always see danger clearly. Looking back, the warning signs were everywhere. She asked about my will. She asked how much the company was worth. She suggested selling properties. She always talked about our future, but somehow, that future always involved things I had already built. Things she never helped create. Then Miguel walked into my hospital room. 30 years of friendship walked through that door wearing muddy boots and an old work jacket. He looked at me. "You look terrible." I almost smiled. "That's your way of saying hello?" "It worked. You almost laughed." Miguel was more than an employee. He was family. After Margaret died, he was the person who checked on me. Not because he wanted something, because he cared. One look at my face and he knew something was wrong. What happened? I told him everything. The diagnosis. Vanessa's words. Chloe wanting my Corvette. When I finished, he sat quietly. Then he said, "She thinks you're already gone." I looked away. Maybe she's right. Miguel shook his head. "No, Walter, you're still here." Then he asked, "What did the doctor actually say?" I explained everything. The mass, the infection, the tests. Miguel leaned forward. "My brother had something similar years ago. Everyone thought the worst. It wasn't cancer. It was a serious infection. You think that could happen? I think you don't let people bury you before the doctors finish their job." Then he told me something that made my blood run cold. Vanessa asked about comfort care. I stared at him. She wanted to discuss stopping aggressive treatment. I couldn't believe it. She was making decisions about my life while I was still fighting for it. That was the moment something changed inside me. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was awake. Miguel helped me contact another specialist. I requested my records. I signed my own paperwork. For years, Vanessa had slowly made me feel like every decision needed her approval. But that day, I remembered something. It was my life. My choice. When Vanessa returned and saw the documents, her expression changed. "What is that?" "A second opinion." Her smile became uncomfortable. "You really want to put yourself through more suffering?" I looked directly at her. "I want the truth." The next morning, she arrived with a folder. Just some routine forms. I looked through them. Power of attorney. Financial access. Business decisions. My entire life placed in someone else's hands. "I'll have my attorney review these." Her face changed. "Walter, you're not thinking clearly." That sentence scared me. Because I realized how easily she could use my illness against me. I called my attorney Eleanor. Her first words were simple. "Do not sign anything." That afternoon, Dr. Rebecca Sloan from Cleveland Clinic reviewed my scans. Her voice was calm. "Walter, the situation is serious." My heart dropped. "But we need to consider another possibility." "What possibility?" "This may be an infected pancreatic pseudocyst, caused by inflammation." I swallowed. "So, it might not be cancer?" "That's correct." The next few days were filled with tests, procedures, medication, waiting. Vanessa hated every moment. "You're making yourself suffer for nothing," she told me. I looked at her. "No, I'm making sure I know the truth." 2 days later, Dr. Price entered my room. He smiled. "The biopsy found no cancer." I closed my eyes. The relief was overwhelming. "You're saying I'm not dying? You have a serious infection, but it's treatable." I should have felt only happiness. But another emotion followed, anger, because while I was fighting to survive, my wife was planning what she would inherit. Eleanor told me not to confront them yet. "Let them believe they won," she said. "People reveal themselves when they think nobody is watching." And she was right. 4 days later, I returned home. Alive. Weak, but alive. Vanessa hugged me. She cried. She thanked God. Anyone watching would have thought she was the most loving wife in the world. But I knew better. That night, I heard voices downstairs. "Vanessa. Chloe. The realtor can come Thursday, Chloe said. Not yet, Vanessa answered. Why? Because people need to feel sorry for us first. I froze. Then I heard, the Corvette needs to be sold quickly. I walked back upstairs quietly. My own home no longer felt like home. It felt like a place where strangers were planning my disappearance. Miguel and Eleanor investigated everything. Vanessa had contacted the bank. She had spoken with my accountant. She had already started preparing for a future without me. So I made my decision. I wasn't going to destroy them. I was going to expose them. And I was going to take back my life. The following week, Vanessa announced she wanted to have a small gathering. She called it a celebration, a chance for everyone to come together and appreciate life. But I knew what it really was. A goodbye party. A funeral before the funeral. She invited my neighbors, my employees, our friends, people who had known me for years. When I walked into the living room that evening, I saw pictures displayed on the television. Almost all of them were from my 4 years with Vanessa. 4 years. That was the story she wanted everyone to remember. Not the 37 years I spent loving Margaret. Not the decades building my company. Not the nights working until my hands hurt. She had erased my entire life and replaced it with the version that benefited her. Vanessa stood in front of everyone holding a glass. Her voice was soft, emotional, perfectly rehearsed. Walter always cared about his family, she said. He always wanted me to protect what we built together. I almost laughed. What we built? She didn't know what it took to build something. She only knew how to collect what someone else created. Then she looked around the room. The company should stay with family. There it was. The real reason behind everything. The room became quiet. Everyone looked uncomfortable. I slowly pushed myself up from my chair. My body was still weak. My legs still needed support. But I stood. Because there are moments in life when you have to choose between staying silent and standing for yourself. Miguel stepped toward me. You sure? I nodded. Yes. Vanessa smiled nervously. Walter, you don't need to do this. I looked at her. Yes, I do. I turned toward everyone in the room. My wife invited you here because she thought I was dying. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. But before anyone says goodbye to me, I paused. You need to hear what I heard. Miguel connected his phone to the speaker. Vanessa immediately looked confused. Then the recording played. Her own voice filled the room. Finally, 3 more days, then it's all mine. Silence. Absolute silence. Nobody looked at me. Everyone looked at her. Then Chloe's voice played. I'm taking his car. The color disappeared from Vanessa's face. No, she said. This is manipulated. I didn't answer. The next recording played. Their conversation about the realtor, the house, the Corvette, the funeral plans. Every word they thought nobody would ever hear. Now everyone heard it. Vanessa looked around. She was searching for someone to defend her. Nobody did. Then she turned toward me. You recorded me? I looked at her calmly. I recorded nothing I wasn't part of. You were sick. Yes. And confused. Eleanor stepped forward. No, he wasn't. She placed documents on the table. Walter's doctors confirmed his mental capacity throughout his treatment. Vanessa's confidence started disappearing. Then Calvin, my longtime manager, spoke. Walter, is this why you asked me about protecting the employees last week? I nodded. Yes. I looked around the room. These people built this company with me. I pointed toward my employees. They stayed when things were difficult. They worked through storms. They believed in something bigger than themselves. So no, I looked at Vanessa. They are not losing everything because someone waited for me to die. Vanessa's eyes filled with anger. You're taking everything away from me. I shook my head. No, I'm taking back what was always mine. The room became silent. Then I explained my decision. The company would not be handed over to Vanessa. I was creating a structure where my employees would have ownership. Miguel would receive the share he deserved after 30 years of loyalty. The company would continue protecting the people who helped build it. Then I looked toward the garage. The Corvette. Chloe immediately looked up. I saw something in her eyes. She still expected it. The Corvette will be sold. Her face changed. But, I continued, the money will fund a trade scholarship for veterans and young workers. A scholarship named after Margaret, the woman who stood beside me when I had nothing, the woman who helped me build my life. Chloe looked away. But you promised. I stared at her. No. I promised to be a father figure. I never promised to reward betrayal. Those words hurt her, but they were true. Vanessa grabbed her purse. You'll regret this. I watched her walk toward the door. For the first time in years, I felt free. The divorce process was not easy. People imagine revenge means one perfect moment where everything ends. But real life doesn't work that way. There were meetings, arguments, legal battles, painful memories. Vanessa tried to claim I was manipulated. She tried to explain away everything. But the truth has a strange power. Once people see who someone really is, it becomes difficult to make them believe a lie. 5 months later, the divorce was finalized. Vanessa received what the law allowed. Nothing more, nothing less. After everything was over, she asked to speak with me one last time. We sat across from each other. The woman I once loved, the woman I thought would stand beside me until the end. She looked different, older, tired. Did you ever love me? She asked. I stayed quiet for a moment, because the answer wasn't simple. Yes, I said. I loved you. Her eyes softened. But, I continued, I loved the person I believed you were. That was the truth. I didn't hate her. I didn't need revenge anymore. Because revenge had never been about hurting her. It was about saving myself. Months passed. My health improved. I wasn't the same man I was before. The illness changed me. The betrayal changed me. But maybe some changes are necessary. The Corvette auction was successful. The scholarship program began. Young people learned skills that gave them a future. Veterans found new opportunities. Every time I saw that program's name, I thought about Margaret. Not with sadness, with gratitude. Miguel eventually retired, but he still came around. He trained new employees. He told them stories about the old days, about the man who started everything with a used truck and a dream. And my company continued. Not because of one person, because of everyone who believed in it. Looking back now, I realized something. The worst moment of my life became the moment that saved me. I thought losing Vanessa would break me. Instead, losing the illusion of who she was gave me my freedom back. Getting older doesn't mean accepting disrespect because you're afraid of being alone. Sometimes the hardest person you have to protect is yourself. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying the people who betrayed you. It's surviving, standing up, and building a life they no longer have access to. Because 3 days that were supposed to be my ending became the beginning of the rest of my life.